Hey guys, Jason here. I just wanted to talk about something a little morbid today. I wanted to talk about death, with the Nordics and the Vikings and their customs of how people died and what they did and the whole kind of transition that they went through, you know. So I wanted to start off with basically mentioning that back in the old times before things got modernized everywhere, and there are some places still, I'm sure, I don't know of all of them, that have weird customs when it comes to death, and that still celebrate things a certain way and take them very seriously. But in the old days, when everyone was real isolated and people were focused on just their groups of people, of like the Nords and the Swedish and the Europeans, and the all the separated kind of groups, one of the big things was for the Nords was to have death by fire, and that's what got me interested at first. I went and looked it up, and I started doing some research, and I read up on how they would often give the dead person whatever their social status was. They would give them things equal to their social status and equal to whatever they did in life. Say they were like a blacksmith, they would get their blacksmith tools, or if they were a woman, they would get jewelry they wore, or if they were a warrior, they would probably get their equipment with them. Whatever was equal to their status, they would receive those things upon their burial, and that would be burned with them when they were dying, or dead. They're dead, sorry. When they were dead and they were burning on the pyre, that's what they would receive with them. But another thing that was interesting was that if they had slaves, if they had thralls, if they had maybe a wife or someone who was really dedicated to them, like a lifelong person who was dedicated to them in life and in death, literally they would take that to heart. So oftentimes you would see what they call thralls. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but a thrall is like it's not a slave, but it's like a manservant. It's like a willing person who kind of goes around serving you. That's really what a thrall is. It's like it's your sort of human pet, and that was a big idea in the old days, and that was something that was pretty popular among rich people or among high statuses. They would like to have thralls, or people kind of like a strong arm, that would do whatever you really asked. Except these were like your manservants. They literally were everywhere with you. They weren't a slave because they weren't forced. They were willing with it, So one of the things I read was that thralls, human people, would be willing, and they would go and be buried with their masters, with their the Nord who died, or whoever was in the land. Didn't have to be a Nord, but whoever was in the land that died, that had a high status, that had a thrall, they would be buried or burned alive or die with them. And then they had a real funny way about it, because it says that they did it willingly, yet ironically, while they're waiting to for the ceremonies to continue and to commence, they actually have them drunk and basically high and on drugs and all intoxicated during this whole thing, and they have them all happy, because they're gonna die, so they might as well make them all, give them a good way to go out, I guess, is what I think they're probably doing with it. And I thought that was interesting, and then it goes further, and it talks about how it talks about the idea of Draugr, which I've seen in video games, but the idea of Draugr are basically like the undead. It's the Nord undead. It's like the zombie, it's the walking dead again, that they come back. And they say that the reason that they do all their ceremonies for like specific ways is to prevent the Draugr from coming up, to prevent any of the dead from coming back. They have like a superstitious way about it, and they're very reverent about it, and they really believe, or believed, past tense, maybe it's not here anymore, I don't know, it could be, I'm not a Nord, I don't know those areas that well, it could still exist, but they really believe that there is a key to how someone's buried and how they're taken care of and whether they'll come back or not. And I thought that was so cool, because they have this idea that if they don't give you all your stuff, if they don't give you the right status, if you don't enter the next life where you're supposed to be with your social stuff and you're lost, then you're going to come back here and you're going to mess with the people who buried you, you know. So they make sure they do a real good job with doing it. And I thought that was really cool, because I was crazy. I was like, wow, you know, they're burying a person, then they're burning them, then they're giving them a live person to burn with them, and they're giving them all these things. And man, that was definitely a little nerve-wracking to research, but it was cool, and I just want to let you guys know about it. And you can tell me what you think, or if you want to see any other things specifically, let me know. All right, guys, talk to you later.